We're live. So I'm just going to let people kind of queue into the audience because it usually takes a little bit for Zoom to get them here. And then I will go ahead with my introduction. Welcome to people who are just joining us. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to arrive.
Hey everyone, just want to keep welcoming folks as they make their way in.
Yes.
Looking forward to sharing some hopefully useful information with my good friend Andrew.
Welcome, welcome.
Awesome. So I think I will kick it off with my little intro. We'll let people keep arriving, but if they don't hear from me, it's okay. I'm not the star of the show. But for those who are here, hi, welcome. I'm Kit. I'm the director of events for Betaworks Studios. We are a membership club that has a physical space in meatpacking, but we also just launched our virtual membership product. Super excited to have any of you here. If you're interested in joining Betaworks Studios as a member, we'd love to have you. You can find more information about our virtual membership on our site, which I'll drop below. We have an event every single day, different topics. We have thematic days. It's really fun. And you'll get to enjoy more content like this if you join us. But today I'm super excited because we've been doing a series called VC Voices, where we have different people working in investment come in and talk kind of about their strategy, experience, advice to founders. And I think the thing that's on everybody's mind, which is like, what's going on with COVID? Can I still raise money? What's going to happen next? Am I totally screwed? So if you guys have any questions during the event, we have a little Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, just below me. We would love to have you drop your questions there. And in the meantime, if you guys want to chat, feel free to use the chat function, but just keep your questions to that Q&A section. So I'm really excited. I'm going to pass it off to Winston Wong, who's actually a Betaworks member, who is going to be moderating today. He's going to be talking to Ben Zises, which I think I just said correct, and Andrew Gluck. And we're super excited to hear from all of them. But like I said, just make sure to drop your questions in that Q&A and we will answer them towards the end of the event. Thanks, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. So excited to talk to Ben and Andrew here. So just to get started, I'm just going to do a quick intro and then I'm going to pass it to Ben and Andrew to introduce themselves as well. And as Kit mentioned, if you have any questions throughout the entire session, just drop it in and then we'll get to it throughout the entire session. So just a quick intro to myself. So I'm from Australia originally, came to the US around 10 years ago, started working in tech. So predominantly focused in product management, worked at Twitter for a few years, then started in pet care, launched a pet care accelerator program, which is a passion of mine. Now building a company that's more focused on team relationships and how do you build stronger team relationships. So that's a little bit of background on myself. But Ben, why don't you kick us off with just a quick intro. What are you working on? I know you're working on the SuperAngel, fund. Would love to hear a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kit from Betaworks, Winston for joining, Andrew as well. Nice to be here with everyone today, and hopefully we can share some valuable insights. Appreciate everyone giving us an hour of their time on a Thursday afternoon. So Ben Zises here. I am an angel investor, advisor, syndicate lead, and soon to be fund manager. I am a former founder myself, having started a real estate tech company back in the day, many years ago. And I really went through the full life cycle of a founder and the journey, going everything from raising, it was about $2 million from more than 30 investors, angels, seed funds, launching hiring a CTO, hiring a product team. I think maybe had 10 full-time employees at one point, mostly engineers. It was a software company similar to StreetEasy or Zillow, where you're searching for a home, but it was for resale space. So that was my founder experience, and I ended up just unfortunately couldn't raise a Series A round of funding. Even though we had a lot of success in other respects from a user standpoint and people using the platform the way we wanted, basically ran out of money. And as that business was coming to a close, having been a founder in New York City with my ear to the ground, I was very fortunate and a little bit of serendipity in 2014, again, just as my business was coming to a close, I ended up meeting what became, a little company that had an idea for a toothbrush subscription concept, which at the time, I think everyone maybe recalls Dollar Shave Club had this incredible viral marketing video. I was an early user to the Dollar Shave Club product and very much an early adopter. And the moment I heard, okay, we're doing a toothbrush subscription concept, beautiful, high design, disrupting such a legacy, archaic business that just has not had innovation in so long, immediately caught my attention. And I was very fortunate to write the first check before the company was even named. And I helped form the company, walk the founders into my law firm's office. And that was my first angel investment, which I think, knock on wood, things have worked out, continuing the right direction. But it was through that experience 7 years ago, being the first investor in Quip, that gave me, I like to say, hopefully not a false confidence to, making other angel investments. And a bunch of time went by before I ended up making other angel investments. But now over the last few years, it's become, it was my passion, nights, weekends, hobbies, taking any cash I could and put into companies. I like to be an early investor. I have a lot of conviction, and now my portfolio is, more than 25 companies, and I'm going to be doing this full time as of a few weeks ago, and more news on that to come. And I'll stop there and hand it over to Andrew. Thank you, Winston.
Hey guys, thanks everyone for taking the time to join. Appreciate it. So my background and kind of path into venture is a little bit different. So I spent most of the past decade in digital marketing. I worked at Quidsy, which was a VC-backed company that Amazon eventually bought. So got some exposure there. A lot of people from Quidsy went on to start startups, Urban Stems and Minibar, a bunch of others as well. And then also worked at The Vitamin Shop, a publicly traded company. Then a few years ago, I co-founded a digital marketing agency called Agency Within that is now called Just Within, since rebranded. And while there, I got a lot of exposure to venture capital-backed startups. Right around that time, 2014, 2015, 2016, a lot of money was coming, especially into direct-to-consumer startups from the VC space, and we were managing paid campaigns on Google, Facebook, and all the other paid channels. Grew the agency to almost 100 people, 100 clients, one of the largest, if not the largest, independent digital marketing agents in the US. Worked with brands like Goop, Rothy's, Helix Sleep, Trade Coffee, and then on the more enterprise side, brands like Shake Shack, Intuit, Spanx, and of course Nike. I had a successful exit in 2018, just about 2 years ago. And since then, I've been doing early stage investing, a little bit advising, kind of similar to Ben, a little bit of everything. And now just focusing kind of on the areas that I really understand best. So direct consumer, ad tech, next gen commerce, anyone kind of changing the game in e-com. Made about 15 investments so far, some that you might recognize or have heard of, Caraway, Branch Furniture, Lunchbox in the next gen commerce space. And so continue to kind of do that, kind of formulating plans for next year, a little bit of a different, more structured version of what I'm doing now, but similarly, really want to be really early, help founders, especially first-time founders, kind of navigate the venture capital path and all the fun that goes along with that. Thanks,
Andrew. So that's actually a perfect segue into the first question, which is very relevant, which is, it seems like, as a young professional who's interested in doing angel investment, like what recommendations do you have? How should they think about it? The risk profile, especially now that the accredited investor profile has changed, the requirements has changed, right? They've removed the $200,000 in income. You're going to see more potential investors. So how should people think about angel investment?
So I think one of the most important things to think about is what the goal of the investing is. Before you even start to get involved, is the goal to learn about certain industries? Is it to network? Potentially down the line, you're looking to get into VC and start a company or become an investor full time. Are you looking to, is this purely financial and you're looking to make money? Are you looking to just help friends and help the ecosystem? And so once you kind of have an understanding of what your goals are, then it kind of changes and how you want to approach it. At the same time, I think probably one of the first few things you should do is read Scott Kapoor's book, Secrets of Sand Hill Road, just to kind of understand a little bit more about venture capital, a little bit more about how VCs operate, how they make money, how they invest, and then one of the easiest, simplest ways is to start getting involved on AngelList with syndicates. You can invest most of the time as little as $1,000. Republic also has you can invest directly there for even less. You think as low as $100. So there's a lot of ways to do it without investing a lot of capital. And then the other thing is only invest what you feel comfortable losing, or at a minimum not having liquidity on for 7 to 10 years, and going with that framework. I think if you want some exposure to the asset class, I think that's always great, but it should be within reason. And there's not no reason, but if you have the capital and you can deploy it, then those are great ways to kind of do and learn. And another way is also a lot of founders are always looking for help, so you can always advise as well if you don't have the capital, and get involved that way.
Ben, any thoughts there? I think it'll be great. I mean, do you want to talk a little also about how would you go about potentially sourcing some of these deals, even if you were to go about meeting some of these investments? Do you think that's a good idea? Yeah.
Andrew gave a great answer, and I'll just add a little bit to that. He referenced a great book, a book that I very often advise people looking to angel invest and learn for the first time is, I'm a big fan of Jason Calacanis, @Jason on Twitter. He's truly self-made, with his whole career, and angel investing in particular. He's very much one of the best there is as far as
invested in Uber, right?
he certainly did. Uber among a handful of other unicorns, but he has a book called Angel. I think the website's Angel the Book. I often recommend that. I read that. I feel like I'm executing the playbook that he outlined in that book. And just some of the things to highlight from there are, putting a small, so learning. In the beginning, it's just learning. And Andrew mentioned syndicates. So I run a syndicate on AngelList. It's called SuperAngel Syndicate. You can find it at superangelsyndicate.com. Not to be too promotional, but I personally started making small angel investments through Jason Calacanis' syndicate. And again, the amounts, it's so accessible, $1,000, $2,500, and it's just the best dollars you can spend to get an education before you go and blow all your money. It's just learning with anything you do, learning from others who've done it before you, developing, finding best practices. So I started making small investments through Jason Calacanis' syndicate. And, you, like Andrew said, help companies, help founders. Your deal flow gets better and better as you go. And I think to answer another question Winston had, and someone actually posted it in the Q&A, is what would I advise young professionals who want to make small investments? I think, and I tell people, because I actually become a conduit for so many people in my peer group who end up making their very first angel investment through my syndicate. And I advise them, go slow, put in a very small amount. You should have 10 or 20 deals in your angel portfolio. And it should, you don't want to put all that money out in the first month, 2 months. There's unlimited deal flow. You can go on AngelList, as Andrew mentioned, go on Republic, click, click, click. You can be an angel investor in 10 minutes. So it's all about quality over quantity, but you want to have enough quantity to give yourself, enough shots on goal. And so you really, 20 angel investments, if you have, 100 grand, and that's a lot, by the way, if you have, let's just call it $20,000 that you're willing to lose. And I would tell people and I don't want to give financial advice, but whether you want to put 5% or 10% of your investable assets into this asset class, I think that's a smart decision for anyone, given the risk and return potential. Obviously, certain cases, some people have 20%. Everyone's different, but I think putting 10% of your investable assets or liquid assets into the angel class is smart. And then I would break up that 10% into 20 deals. And so just be thoughtful about it and give yourself diversification. I think I wrote just maybe just another note. Just as far as, the up, I'm going to stop there because I know there's other good stuff coming. So.
No, thank you. That's great. So I guess switching gear a little bit. So, as you think about angel investment, like currently, there's, with the pandemic going on, have that changed how you think about angel investment? Has that changed the type of companies that you've invested in? How should founders think about, approaching angels?
Andrew, you want to take it, or? So just Winston, just to repeat the question, sorry. So relative to like COVID and the pandemic, how has that changed the mindset as far as investing in this time period? It's a great question. I mean, obviously, I think everyone has had to sort of look within and reassess how they, what they're doing personally and professionally. And with respect to angel investing, I think, it's, I'm in this personally for the long run. This is my passion. This is my love. This is now my career. And so I'm sort of trying to maintain an extremely long-term approach and outlook, which I think being an angel investor, you're almost forced to do. And actually, it turns out like one of the things I love most about being an angel investor, and specifically the fact that you're investing in private companies versus, buying stocks on your TD Ameritrade or Robinhood account, is the forced patience that it's required when you invest in a startup as an angel. You're not able to, buy and sell and trade your shares, with a click of a button. You really are putting your money somewhere that you can very much expect or should expect it to be, not returned to you for 10 plus years. I think certainly 5 to 10 years maybe is the average time period it takes for any exit, or even though you certainly get indications between that period. So as far as me personally, it hasn't particularly changed my investment strategy at all. I just try and keep a super long-term approach.
Andrew, are there any trends that you're seeing because of COVID, or any companies that you're seeing like founders starting because of this, current situation?
Yeah, I think you're, obviously, some trends, acceleration of e-commerce adoption has been, tremendous for the past 6 months. And so you're seeing more and more capital flow in that way, more and more investments go that way. You're also seeing a lot more people who are kind of rethinking priorities. And I think you're seeing, we're already seeing kind of the passion economy and the creator economy kind of cresting. And now you're seeing even more of that, both at the individual level, Casey Newton going over to Substack, announced earlier today. And things like that are people are kind of resetting and having a little bit more time to actually get out of the day-to-day grind and take a minute to think about priorities. And that's promoting that and pushing that too. And then also, just generally future work with remote teams or distributed teams or asynchronous teams. Everyone's kind of figuring out, new ways to work together, and as well as obviously companies that support all those aspects. And on the investing side, I've always, just because my background is really heavy in digital and e-commerce, I've always leaned that way, and then that's where a lot of my investments are. Not much has changed, honestly. And then, I think you're seeing a little bit more of, the bifurcation of, there's hot deals out there, and those founders deals, whatever the case is, are we're seeing, more and more markups and people willing to pay multiples that are higher than last year's multiples on SaaS or on D2C or on revenue or on profitability, whatever the case is, which kind of makes sense given kind of some of what we're seeing out of the public market, seeing what we're seeing at, in terms of, on a macro level, in terms of bonds with basically zero return, and everyone's willing to kind of pay up for, the value of a company in 6 to 12 months from now, which is pretty interesting and exciting. At the same time, there's a lot of founders out there who are having a hard time raising, and COVID's making it tougher because unless you already have kind of those initial first ins into the network, into meeting people, it has become harder, to just serendipitously meet people, whether it's at meetups or panels or all these kind of different things where there's opportunities for founders to connect, founders and investors to connect. So, just thinking about different ways to support founders like that as well.
So for a first-time founder or early-stage founder, not necessarily just first-time, how should they think about approaching angels versus family and friends versus there's now a ton of pre-seed funds popping up, obviously. What do you generally look for, and what should founders think about, as they approach you? How should they think about the pitch? How should they think about,
if it's okay, Winston, I also just want to give a response to the last question, just trends, just to give Andrew some credit. So yeah, next gen commerce, and then I'll come back to the question you just asked, which I see was asked in the audience. But I definitely want to double down on the concept of the growth and acceleration of e-commerce, right? That trend and all of the anyone can build a brand in 10 minutes. You can source. There's so many platforms to help you source materials, make materials offshore, overseas, and then light up a Shopify website and boom, you're a brand. You put up an Instagram page. So I think the concept of selling shovels to people digging for gold, as far as technology solutions to empower CPG e-commerce companies, and I want to just give a quick shout out to an investment that Andrew sourced that both of us are co-investors in, a company called Co-op Commerce, which is just an exceptional company that basically is a network of brands that help each other by giving them the ability to sell each other's products. So after you check out and purchase something from one site, on the thank you page they give you a recommendation of complementary brands, and so you're sort of just helping people find complementary products online. It's just a company that's empowering great e-commerce companies with sales and conversion. So I think that's a trend that's certainly, blowing up. Again, selling shovels to people looking for gold. And then sort of to answer your last question, which is what do we recommend founders who give pitches and how they should approach
what do you generally
raising?
For, I guess, as an angel investor versus a VC fund, how would it be different? Yeah.
Well, I love answering this question. And someone said, what characteristic do you look for most in founders? So I actually just put together a slide for my soon to be announced fund that key selection criteria, and I'm to some extent just going to repeat what's on the slide because I put a lot of time and thought into it. So the first thing is the team, and specifically let's drill down. What about the founder? To me, I sort of landed on three main things. Unwavering ambition to build a multi-billion-dollar company. Let's just sit for a second and think about that. When you invest in startups, the risk is 100. You are expecting 7 out of 10 maybe or more to go to 0. With each investment, there's just such a big risk associated. So you really need to make sure from a financial perspective that you're backing a founder who has what it takes to get to become massively successful, outsized returns. So to me, that quality is paramount. I mean, if I wanted to invest, make a 2x return, sure, I'll find a piece of real estate to invest in, or a service business perhaps that's manual. But so just incredible ambition, some drive and chip on their shoulder. That's the first quality. The second is product obsessed and attention to detail. So relentless pursuit of perfection as it relates to their product. I just think to win, it's so competitive. You just need to create something so much better than the alternative to capture the attention of your audience, whomever that may be. And then Andrew, I'm really curious what you think about these two, but ability to learn new things so fast. Because as a founder, you're just you're the center of the circus. You're the ringleader, and so you can't necessarily be such an expert in performance marketing, supply chain, customer experience, and design, UI. You kind of need to know a little bit about everything, and you just need to learn super fast. And you also need to become almost in some ways as sophisticated as the investors you're pitching today, because you need to know what to put in front of them to entice them to invest. And so that's why founders say are becoming investors themselves. They're spending so much time, just understanding the dynamics of how do investors look at their business. And so, just crazy ambition, product obsessed, and ability to learn new things fast as far as what I look for from my founders.
Andrew, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with the ambition thing. I think Ben and I have co-invested a few times, and I think a lot of the founders that we invest in have pretty big chips on their shoulder from either previous roles or just have this ability to just keep grinding when people say no. We've co-invested in a company called Caraway. Jordan, the founder, when he was pitching his first round of capital, he went to over 150, I think 170 investors to raise a couple $1 million round, which is wildly impressive. I mean, you see people giving up and saying no after that, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer. One thing that I love is founder market fit. So I happen to invest in a lot of first-time founders, but a lot of these founders do have experience in the industry, whether they've directly come up against the problem that they're trying to solve, or tangentially, they have some kind of unique insight. They give you this kind of aha moment during the pitch, where you go, oh, wow, that's a really interesting way of thinking about the problem or the solution that no one else is thinking about, because they've toiled and thought about it and worked through the problem for years themselves. So those are kind of some of the qualities. And then one of the things that I look for early also is ability to kind of attract talent. To get to that multi-billion-dollar exit, you're going to need a lot of help along the way. Investors, advisors, employees, co-founders, whatever it is. You do need that, I won't even say charisma or magnetism, but that ability to have people believe in you and have that it's not always sturdiness and not always saying everything's rosy, but the realness too, and just being able to point people in the right direction, delegate and lead is critical to getting such such an outsized outcome.
Thank you. And I think, to that point, I think, you're seeing a lot more programs nowadays from VC firms that's helping early stage founders. So Betaworks obviously has their circles, and they're starting about new programs too. And, Human Ventures has their program to help founders early. A4 just launched a new one. So you're seeing a lot of these programs from VCs trying to do that. I think the question I want to ask here is just like, how do angel investors, I'm trying to answer the first question, also help their, founders in their portfolio, outside of purely just finance, are they able to help with customers and with coaching and all that stuff? How do you generally think about that when you do angel investments?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So for example, I'm also just reading kind of, the question from the audience. Angel investors often don't have a platform. They don't necessarily have the resources that institutional investors have, but a lot of times angel investors have usually a skill or specialist skill that they might be outsized with in terms of their abilities. So for me, my digital marketing background is something that I leverage for almost all the companies that I work with. So whether that's helping them with marketing directly, helping them find agencies, hire talent in that area, but it's something that I bring to most companies, helping them with things like LTV and CAC analysis that are critical for early stage businesses. So angel investors, I think, overwhelmingly, there's tons of angel investors that are, only investing a check, but overwhelmingly, I think, pack a lot of punch for the dollars, and are some of the most helpful people on the cap table. I see it all the time from other angel investors, and so they can do everything. I'm doing reference calls with potential clients later today for one of the startups that I work with, invested in. So it really runs a gamut, and every investment's different in terms of how you can help. But I'd say angel investors are usually more involved, and probably a little bit more tactically involved and a little less strategically involved, but it also varies by angel and even for that angel by investment.
Just to add to that point, and I'll be honest, like some of the reasons I'll invest in a company is because I know Andrew's also an investor in the company, given the fact that his expertise in, paid performance marketing. And if I have some comfort that he's going to give some guidance to a founder, that'll make me, feel a little bit more at ease with a subject that maybe the founder isn't such an expert in. But to answer the question that came from the audience, do angel investors help portfolio founders the same ways? Everything it's hard to generalize. So it's just case by case basis, but you could definitely make the argument angel investors or certain ones can be so much more helpful. Oftentimes angel investors, like Andrew was saying in the beginning, why do they get involved in a company? So often it's because they want to help. They want to be part of a journey. They want to invest in companies they have a unique or competitive advantage to be helpful to. Right? Because that's, again, another thing I love about angel investing, and you can see my passion is you can't impact, whether or not Apple stock goes up in a given day. I mean, try and buy 1,000 iPhones for everyone maybe. But whereas with angel investing, you have some sense of control. You can truly spend sweat equity, spend a weekend sending out 100 co-investor emails or taking a reference call or making connections to customers or connecting to service providers. So having control, I think everyone likes in some ways having some control over outcomes, right? And so that's a big thing. And so I think the answer is some angel investors are insanely helpful and some are not, and that's okay. And I think there's a counterintuitive thought that actually is an amazing tweet from Cal Vapori, who, if people don't know, he's also, like Jason Calacanis, an absolute super angel, one of the best there is. I mean, seeded countless unicorns. I'll literally read his tweet. It's just a counterintuitive tip for everyone who wants to be an investor, angel or otherwise, and stay an investor. Here it is, invest in companies who don't need you to succeed. And so, let that sink in. Right? The best companies and founders don't need as much help from their angels. So again, I try and be the most founder-friendly investor on my cap, on a cap table. And if that means not bothering just sort of thanking them for the investor updates they give me every quarter, and just giving them that, support and likes on social media and staying out of their way, to me, that is incredibly valuable very often. And so unless I'm asked or I believe I can really be impactful, I truly try and get out of the way of my exceptional founders that I'm so fortunate to give, to be a part of their journey.
Thank you for that. Another question that I've definitely seen a lot of, founders ask is really around, what's the right way to go find angel investors? Should you just contact them directly through Twitter potentially? Obviously, you can look for them through Angel List. What's the right way to approach them? That's the first question. And then related to that is just you're also seeing a lot of people now approaching 20, 30 angel investors and each might, do 5K check here and there. How do you generally think about, having a ton of investors on your cap table? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Because that's becoming more common. So would love to hear your perspectives on that.
I'll just take this first. The way to run, so my recommendation, take it for what it's worth or what you will, the way to run a successful fundraise, to me, fundraising is a numbers game. Not to pat myself on the back, have raised millions of dollars for incredibly early stage startups. Sat next to the founder through the fundraising process, helped them go the whole way. So I've done it for my own startups, for other startups. It is a numbers game. Even companies who are doing $100 million in revenue or whatnot, fundraising is hard, and you need to treat your fundraise the way you treat the most important other aspects of your business, the same way you obsess over your product or your marketing or your manufacturing or supply chain or customer service. It's deserving, it needs full-time attention, and I just think it's a numbers game. And obviously, to the extent you can, filter, focus, and your time is the most valuable thing. So spend the time. There's countless resources. You mentioned Winston AngelList being among the very best, Crunchbase, and just so many others. I'm sure Betaworks has incredible resources for founders, and you can just find tons of great lists that have angels and categorized by their focus. For me, it's consumer and real estate tech. So consumer, CPG, prop tech. I put it right on my website, exactly what my focus is. So you can find information, but I think it's a question of running a process, putting every investor in a target list, and just follow up. I can't overstate the importance of simply following up. Because an investor doesn't respond to your email, it doesn't mean that they're not interested. Your job is simple as a person raising capital. Get to a no or yes, but I'll take a no because I can cross it off my list and move on. So the key is, like everything, don't leave any stones unturned. Scale, just blitz and hit as many people as you can. And to the extent you can find a super angel to be on your team and help you with that, or be able to leverage their brand and name, I think that's smart as well. And then syndicates, just as the other question was regarding smaller checks, I tell founders, take a 25,000 or more check direct. But if you're working with a syndicate, that's a perfect way to pool together smaller checks into one vehicle, so you don't have your lawyer sending 400 DocuSigns out, or you're not spending all weekend sending 400 DocuSigns out, collecting all this money, figuring out everyone's percentages. Small checks taken through a syndicate if possible. Larger checks you can take direct. I'll stop there.
I think Ben answered that pretty perfectly. The only thing I'd add is, as much as possible, and it's not easy, especially early, is to create urgency. So whether that's as you start to get and gain momentum, telling people, we're closing the round, soon. Be realistic about it. Don't lie. So many times I hear founders say we're closing the round in 2 weeks, and I know that that's not really happening. Just like all VC funds are closing just 6 weeks.
Can't blame them though.
Yeah,
agreed.
VCs do the same thing. So is to create urgency. So the more strategic you could be about it, and try and time things to go through the process. And I see a lot of times these raises lag over 6-9 months, and like that can happen, and sometimes it takes that long. But you'd probably be better served if over 3 months you're a little bit more targeted, came up with a real list of people that you wanted to get in touch with, found ways to reach out to them all at once. So you could say, oh, we're in diligence with these funds, we're in diligence with funds, and you're getting people to the same stage at the same time. So that there is an urgency for a fund or an angel to make a decision at a certain point, and they can't just kind of play the waiting game and see and see what else is out there, or see if they're just going to wait and hold out on that. And,
I just want to add one more thing, just if that's okay on this. It's just so important. The creating a sense of urgency is absolutely critical. Everyone's so busy today. It's just to capture their, you have to create that. Everyone's gonna, if you're not pushing someone, they're just gonna move on to the other thing that is pushing them. It's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. But also, quickly, one other thing is, you have the ability to create your own story with investors. So maybe you beta launched and XYZ happened. The point is, it's how you frame your business is critical. So, you can set your own success metrics, right? Your own goalposts. And so I think set some story that makes sense, and give yourself that, case study of like, hey, we said we would do this, we did that. And if we just add your money, we'll just continuing to perform. So I think, and also when you follow up, have something to say. So I'm constantly saying, if you just, finished your brand book, use that. Hey, wanted to share my brand book. My new design came out. Take a look, would love your feedback, and we're closing the round. Are you in or not? But have something, give some information to sort of show the progress when you do follow up.
That's really good practical advice. Thank you. I'm just a quick example of mine, actually, really quickly. That just happened today. I'm in the process of applying for this program, incubator program. I actually created a blog post just around my thinking around certain topics. And I haven't heard from them for 2 weeks, but then I sent it out today to them and I heard back from them immediately saying they want to follow up with me. So that's just really good practical advice and that I've personally also experienced. There's a couple of questions on here that I'm going to just go rapid fire through them towards the end. So I'm going to leave that really towards the end, but feel free to ask more questions. We want to open it up to everyone. But Tyler had a question around accelerator programs. How do you feel about them? Obviously, YC, there's actually a lot of people now trying to disrupt YC, I would say. I think probably this year is the first year I'm seeing on Twitter a lot of people just making fun of YC companies versus previously in the past. So I haven't seen that in the before. How do you feel about accelerator programs? Should founders go through them? Is it worth the value? Yeah.
I think it really depends. Sometimes you might need the capital and you don't have anything else. So that's always one, right? And then I think there's, just like investors, there's good accelerators and there's bad accelerators. And there's also good accelerators that are specific for specific industries and have good track records, whether it's, in the B2B space or in the retail space or in the medical space. So finding, the right accelerator for you is sometimes more important than a yes or no on the accelerator. There's also a lot of value sometimes in the accelerator and what they do and create, in terms of demo day and urgency afterwards, as well as, networking with your cohort. They bring a lot of mentors and investors in, done mentorship through XRC and through ERA and a few others. And so they do present a lot of opportunities. I think you should always, speak to someone who's gone through the accelerator and speak to one or two people, one or two companies that have gone through the accelerator and see and get their feedback. Similarly, if you're trying to get into an accelerator, apply to multiple and do the same thing, create that same urgency, whether it's, around product development and roadmap, whether it's around other accelerators or other options that you might have.
Just my answer to the question is similar to Andrew. I think it all depends. To me, it doesn't make or break whether a company went through an accelerator. I think I've recommended companies that I felt were a little, rough around the edges and maybe not just experienced in, listen, first-time founders, it's hard to sort of bucket everyone to one list, but certainly it's not easy to be a first-time founder. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of language and terminology that's used when you're investing and when you're sort of in the fundraising process. And so I think, going through an accelerator can be a pretty good crash course in like how to sort of clean yourself up, button yourself up and present yourself. I think there's a lot of them. And I think like anything, there's some good, some bad, but I've mostly seen like they're good in my mind. I mean, for the most part, they seem authentic. So many accelerators. Obviously you have the YC, the Techstars and Launch. Definitely don't want to forget Jason's accelerator launch. But to me, I think it's a very efficient way to get a crash course on what you're about to go through for the next 10 years. And so I certainly find value in companies that have gone through one. And so that hopefully is a helpful answer to the question.
Yeah, I think just from my personal experience, I think really think about what you want to get out of that. I think, the accelerator program is a great structured way to go through things really quickly, to validate things really quickly, to get customers really quickly. So if you can find one that is adapted to your market, I think that's generally not a bad idea because you can get direct customers pretty quickly. But then you also see YC companies essentially selling to each other and they're creating a company that way too. And that works for them too. So really, really think about what is it that you want to get out of it. I think most people that go through it thinks obviously the value that they're giving away, 8% or however much it is worth it for the future to be able to establish that network. That is up to you. If you already have that network, great, but a lot of people don't. So that's something to think through. Cool. What are your thoughts on the low code, no code movement currently? How do you feel about companies that leverage that? How do you think about just the entire movement, and what does this mean for like the future of engineering, potentially the future of building new companies? Yeah.
I think Andrew probably will have a better answer than me. The only thing one thing that's interesting that just relates to sort of what's happening right now is, well, the concept of low code, no code. I mean, it's even sort of, the key is that like you can spin up and light up some product solution super easily. And there's nothing more relevant to me than what we're seeing take place with, around the disruption and innovation happening with AngelList and their syndicates, but next they're rolling funds. I mean, anyone can raise a venture capital fund effectively. And I hate to use venture capital. I feel like there's a distinction between venture versus angel, but an angel fund, but effectively a venture fund, by literally clicking a few buttons. So like everything is instant today. Instagram, Instacart, InstaFund, click a button, get fund. I mean, it's like incredible. And I think it's a great thing because I think it is creating more opportunities for people who wouldn't otherwise have those opportunities. There might be a business guy who has an idea that requires a major, can't source a CTO, right? But he can use a platform to build his product without knowing, sophisticated what it's like to know how to be a computer software engineer. So I think it's great because it's just creating more opportunities for people across all categories, including investing through concepts like the rolling fund, where they handle all of the back office legal admin. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's not, to be transparent, it's not an area that I'm very well versed in. But I, from my reading and learning, the ability to take people who are non-technical, make them technical, or at least get them, kind of 0 to 1 and get an MVP out the door is pretty incredible. You're seeing, yes, VCs and investors complain about valuations and everything, kind of creeping up every single year. At the same time, the stage of, of a pre-seed company, now versus 5 years ago between, cloud computing, no code, and everything else, and just learning of founders and how much farther along founders are. All of that is just really is really great for the whole ecosystem. And so it's something that I'm impressed with and something that I'm following along. It's not my forte. I think there's tremendous opportunity to create systems that you couldn't before and do that more quickly and more cheaply than ever before, which is always a good thing for innovation and always a good thing for startups.
Yeah, and I'm not a technical founder myself, but I've been learning Webflow and Bubble and all those different tools, and it's actually really easy. Like it's the same as me learning how to do a PowerPoint presentation. You just click a lot of buttons. But what's been helpful for me is to be able to demo my ideas early on to investors so that they feel like they can see what your vision is. And then they'll feel much more comfortable giving you, the funding to be able to build it properly. So that's been really helpful for me. So I would definitely take the time to learn it because it's really great just to be able to just build something from scratch really easily.
Wherever you can, show, don't tell. Applies to, no code, applies to samples. I think Ben and I are both investors in a company called Cadence, these little travel capsules. And I remember just seeing the prototype, how much different the pitch went with being able to see and feel and play around with the prototype. They were far from finished, but, wherever you can, get to that next stage and keep, moving the ball forward, whether it's code or whether it's physical.
Cool, thank you. So I'm going to just go through some questions that I think there's a couple of questions that we missed that just really quickly, rapid fire, fun questions. One question was, what did you dream of doing when you were kids? So before you decided, unless you decide that you want to be an investor when you're a kid, I mean, that's a valid answer too.
I don't know, at what age? I mean, I was a big roller hockey player, so maybe, maybe just professionally doing that. But I've been entrepreneurial since very early. I mean, I started like a DJ company in elementary school, doing all the, even doing high school dances and, Sweet 16s and whatnot for kids much older than me. So I've always, and then I had a business in college, and my startup right out of school. And so just being, a successful investor has definitely been on my plans for a while.
What if you weren't doing anything in business? It was non-business related. What would you do?
My nickname is Benny Biz. It's just what I do. Other than that, I spend time with my family. I have a beautiful 7-month-old daughter, Serena, and I know Andrew has kids as well. And so, I think they say like you can only choose two out of three. Work, hobby, or family to sort of excel in, and sort of my two are family and work. So, although certainly enjoy various hobbies, my baby is supporting my portfolio companies and founders, and then spending time with my real baby.
Andrew, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, always entrepreneurial, always interested in business. Outside of business, probably dreams of playing professional sports, just like a lot of people, I'm sure. I don't think that ever was going to happen, but yeah.
What sport specifically?
I played a lot of tennis growing up.
Nice.
So yeah.
We should play tennis sometime then.
We should.
So another couple of quick questions. Would you ever invest in a company where the founders are not working full time on it? How do you think about that? Yeah.
So I would say, in a whole bunch of cases. So when I invested in Quip, which at the time, again, it wasn't even called that. They didn't have their name or anything like that. The founders both had full-time jobs. When I invested in Caraway as the first investor as well, Jordan, the founder, was working at the time. So I think in the short term, if a founder needs to support themselves in some capacity while they're building their startup nights and weekends, that's totally cool. But seeing a path to full-time is definitely required, and sort of doesn't need to be an exact date, but, generally speaking, okay, once we raise, enough money, I can pay myself something, or I'm totally fine with it. So it's not a, immediate yes or no for me one way or the other.
Yeah, pretty much the exact same.
Cool, thank you. And I know there's a couple of questions here that I think we've kind of answered, but wanted to see if there's anything else you want to elaborate on. What's the most important lever that you look for a pre-revenue company? I know you talked about the founding team previously. Outside of that, anything else that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, so team for pre-seed and this early and pre-revenue team, and then market, can a business in this market support a really big exit, and understanding that markets evolve, understanding that that these that companies are not always valued, and I've seen companies valued at larger than the market size, and things like that. And hopefully a lot of the, the disruptive companies are actually changing and adapting and growing the market size. So I guess I kind of correlated to that or related to that would be, asymmetric upside. Is there an opportunity for, given the risk profile, which is, basically 100 from 0 to 100, is there that same opportunity where if everything does go right, can this be a huge company, right? If the team gets everything right, if the product is right, if the pricing is right, if the marketing is right, is there the opportunity for this to return, 100x on the investment?
To add to Andrew, team certainly far and away number one, and the qualities we talked about earlier of incredible ambition, product obsessed, and whatnot, and ability to learn. But the second two for me, the second two buckets, as Andrew said, was market, and just as a market for this, and generally for me, my focus, I don't pretend to be an expert in everything. So I like to invest where I have a unique ability to assess and evaluate the business. Consumer products and real estate tech are my two superpowers relative to having advantages in knowing what works and doesn't versus the other investors that are out there. And then product, traction, and revenue are the third. So team, market, and then product traction revenue. But your question was great. It's, what do you look for pre-product or pre-revenue? And so I think that takes me very simply back to step one, which it just means, because I invest so often before there's product or revenue, it just means you need to spend, or I need to spend more time evaluating the team and the market itself. So that's the answer for that one.
Thank you. I know we're almost at time. Any other final questions? Definitely feel free to write in the Zoom. I guess just a couple of other quick questions for me, like any other advice that you have for founders when it comes to like starting a company or raising raising funds, fundraising, or any other final advice, or alternatively, would love to hear a little bit more about, what you're working on, Ben, if you want to share, if you're open to sharing that a little bit. Not sure if you're ready to do that, so feel free to say no too. And Andrew, anything on your side that, that you feel like, that's exciting that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I'll have more news probably later this year about next year and kind of my next step in approaching investing and what that's going to look like. I think the last thing I'd end on is one thing that I try to tell founders about raising is to also just frame raising and of, we proved X so far. With this capital, we will now prove X. What hypothesis, what thing, usually one, maybe two items, are you trying to prove with this next tranche of funding that will then enable you to get the next tranche of funding, right? We have gotten this far on our own or bootstrap or friends and family. Now with your capital, now with this round of financing, we will now be able to prove the next thing, which will get us an unlock and will get us, to the next level. And I think that's one thing that I don't often hear from founders, especially first-time founders, is that understanding of, this is a 10-year journey of raising money. You're going to if you're successful, you're going to constantly be raising money. And part of that is framing all these, you own the story, you own the narrative, tell it the best that you can, be honest and be truthful, but, frame the conversations in ways that help you get to, if you believe in me, if you believe, what is the one thing that I need to prove in this tranche? If you believe in me, you should say yes, because if I can get there, then the company will be worth more tomorrow and, has this uncapped upside at the end of the day.
To answer the question, I think just two things that just stuck out to me were, I think, and I wanted to talk about earlier, just reaching out as far as for a successful fundraise. Like, to me, I think cold emails are fantastic. I think don't underestimate them. I mean, today, everyone's email is, accessible. For those VCs that don't publish their email, I'm sorry, you're not doing it right. Your email should be accessible. Our job is to see, be accessible, see as many deals as possible. If we limit our networks and deal flow, I'm not quite sure the benefit there. But certainly I'm a big believer in putting my information everywhere, ben.zises@gmail.com, first name, last name. I'm open, however founders want to approach me. I respond to every single note, cold, warm. I love a great cold email. I personally have invested in companies that I've found on Twitter or cold emails. I've gotten jobs in my career, cold emails. Spend the time and I think don't underestimate them. And the other is, especially for me, where my focus is consumer product companies, one super easy way to filter out deals I am not going to invest in is just 2 seconds flipping through a deck that is so poorly designed. I can't, overstate the importance of design. Like, first impression is everything in life. And if you're gonna put in front of me for a consumer product company a deck that looks like, you didn't give it much attention, it's just wasting your time. How are you gonna design your product if your deck looks like crap? All due respect. And so I really urge founders to spend the time. I mean, the same way as Winston mentioned, I'm going to be launching a fund. I spent countless hours on my deck that's going to go in front of people. How can I expect other people to take the time to consider, trusting me with their money if I'm not taking it seriously and giving it the time that it deserves. So, listen, there's no overnight successes. There's no, shortcuts. So you got to put in the time, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing your contact details. Andrew, what's the best way for the audience to reach you if they want to reach you as well?
Yeah, same thing. I respond to every single note that I get. I'm at Andrew@irrvrntVC. I'll put it in the chat, and also very active and answer every cold email and direct message and everything. Same way. I transparently, I think I've only invested in one company that from outside my network, but I'm open to it, and very, very willing to look outside my network. I think that's where some of the best deals can be found.
Cool. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for attending this session. Thank you Betaworks for hosting this, and thanks Ben and Andrew for providing your insights. Thank you. Have a good
Hope we were helpful. Thanks, Winston and Andrew.
Thanks guys. Thanks everyone for attending. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.